Hello there.
Hello, Brother Shankar.
I'm good to see you here.
Namaste.
Namaste. Well, look at this. We're gathering together online again. Oh, hello, Sham.
Hey, namaste, Brother Shankara.
Namaste, namaste.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Mom. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello, Shankara.
Hello, hello. Who is that?
Who, me?
No, that wasn't you.
Oh.
It was somebody else. Swayam, maybe?
No, Vijay Nira, is that you?
Yes, yes.
Hi.
Hello, Nira.
Hi. How you doing?
We're doing well. Glad to see you.
Okay.
Hello, Vijay.
Hi, Haima.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Pretty good. Yes, doing well.
We'll do our usual thing of waiting till 8:02 to
Okay.
start our chant.
Yeah.
It looks like it might be Kat and Jim there.
In my one.
No, that was Swayam,
I see
the ceiling fan.
Kat, Jim Garvine, Balakrishna, and Chinmoy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, brother.
Brother Shankara.
Hello.
Hi.
And Akash. And Ramada.
Hi.
Tom is here.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Evening.
Akash.
JG.
Hi, Brahmadas.
Hi,
Hello, Brahma.
Good to see you.
good to see you too.
Yeah. I'm going to mute now.
Me too.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste, Chinmoy.
Namaste. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. And also, let's just hold a moment's silence for the well-being of everyone who is, and of course it is all of us who are being taxed by this dreadful transformation going on with the coronavirus. Om Hari Om, Om Hari Om, Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. So, as you all know, we're studying the life of Holy Mother as told by Swami Chetanananda in Sri Sarada Devi, her divine play. The story is taking place right now during the last chapter of the Master's life, the last chapter, not only just the last chapter, but the last scenes of the last chapter of the Master's life. They're at Kashipur Garden House, and of course, Holy Mother is taking care of the Master's needs. So we'll pick it up after that incident with Durgacharan Nagmashai. One day, while Holy Mother was cleaning the wound in the Master's throat with a cotton swab, he cried out in pain, "Oh, what are you doing?" Then he withdrew his mind from his body and said, "All right, you are cleaning with a swab, go ahead." He remained silent. Another day, the Master said to Holy Mother, all sufferings have gone through this body. None of you will have to suffer anymore. I have suffered for everyone in the world. Ramakrishna was slowly dropping the curtain on his divine play. So he started making arrangements for Holy Mother. Now let's just go back to that remark. All sufferings have gone through this body. None of you will have to suffer anymore. I have suffered for everyone in the world. He meant that no one would have to suffer like he suffered. Didn't mean there would be no more suffering ever for anyone. He meant that no one would have to suffer like he suffered. And of course, we cannot really conceive of how he suffered. None of us can imagine ourselves, I don't think, rubbing our face in the dirt until it bleeds, crying out for a vision of the Mother. None of us can imagine our body burning day after day after day after day, burning, 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 so that the only relief, and it was temporary at best, was by immersing himself in the Ganga, in the Ganges. It wasn't until the Bhairavi Brahmani came and was able to address the underlying causes and deal with it in her special way that he got relief from that. But as it says in the Chandi, great inconceivable penances are required for your realization, O Devi, required for your vision. These are the penances that Sri Ramakrishna suffered. And he did it for us. This is why Vivekananda writes in the evening prayer, how great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. So that's what he meant when he said, I have suffered for everyone in the world. No one would have to suffer for realization, for the gift of divine knowledge. We would have to be persistent. We would have to be intentional. We would have to work at it. But as Swami Prabhupada said, each of you who comes here and sticks on, and I'm going to repeat this, this was Swami Prabhupada, each of you who comes here and sticks on will receive liberation or the Master's grace at death. If you earn it before that time by your efforts, well and good. But even if you don't, this will be the gift of the Master's grace at death. So this is what this is what the Master said. No one would have to have the kind of austerities, practice the kind of austerities that he did. Ramakrishna was slowly dropping the curtain on his divine play. So he started making arrangements for Holy Mother. One day when his nephew Ramlal came to see him at Kashipur, the Master said to him, "Serve the Divine Mother of Dakshineshwar. Then you will not lack anything." He said to Holy Mother, "You will live in Kamarpukur and look after Lakshmi for a while." So he told Ramlal to serve Kali at Dakshineshwar. Then you will not lack for anything. He said to Holy Mother, "You will live in Kamarpukur and look after Lakshmi for a while. As the devotees lovingly serve me, they will do the same for you." Then he told Ramlal, "Look after your aunt so that she can live in Kamarpukur." Ramlal replied in an unconcerned manner, "She can live wherever she wants." The Master understood that Ramlal was trying to avoid this responsibility. The Master understood that Ramlal was trying to avoid his responsibility. The Master rebuked him, saying, "What is this? Why have you become a man? Why have you become a man?" In fact, Ramlal never looked after Holy Mother. And it was really severe, as we'll read as we go along. Mother's condition became very dire in Kamarpukur. In fact, Ramlal never looked after Holy Mother. Ramakrishna was nearing the ocean of Satchidananda. He began to give his last instructions to Holy Mother. "Let me tell you something. Do not stretch out your hand to anyone, even for a penny." In other words, don't ask for money in any way. "Do not stretch out your hand to anyone, even for a penny. You will not lack simple food and clothes. If you hold your hand out to anyone, remember, you will sell him your head also." It is, and this is a lesson for us as well. This is always a lesson for us. If you hold out your hand to anyone, remember, you will sell him your head also. It is absolutely necessary. You may, if it is absolutely necessary, you may beg for your food, but never live in anyone else's house. Devotees may welcome your house. Devotees may welcome you in their houses with great respect and affection, but never allow your own hut in Kamarpukur to fall into disrepair. Please stay in Kamarpukur. Grow some spinach and eat that. Eat that spinach with rice. Chant the name of God. Now, as we'll see, and when we get to this chapter in Mother's life, as I said, it was very dire. She really did lack. And it was because the Master's people were very unkind to her. One day, shortly before his death, the Master was gazing intently at Holy Mother. She said, "Tell me what's on your mind." He pointed to his body and replied in a tone of complaint, "Look here, won't you do anything? Must this do everything?" "But what can I do?" she protested. "I am a mere woman." No, the Master insisted. "You will have to do many things." Another, and by this he meant he was giving her the responsibility that became hers, and it became hers in very well, as we'll see going on. She indeed did many things. Another day at Kashipur, Holy Mother carried the master's food to his room and found him lying in bed with his eyes closed. She said aloud, "Please get up, it is your meal time." When the master opened his eyes, he appeared to have returned from a faraway realm. He said to her in an abstracted mood, "Look at the people of Calcutta. They are like worms squirming in darkness. You must bring light to them. This is not my burden alone. You shall have to share it." And share it she did. This is one of the things that we'll find so inspiring as we go along in this book, is just exactly how she did share it and how, in what wonderful and exemplary fashion. Ramakrishna promised Holy Mother, those who come and take refuge in you, I will come to them during their last moments. I will hold their hand and accompany them. So this is exactly the same promise that Prabhupada passed along to us. A few days before the master passed away, he sent for Holy Mother. He taught her 8 mantras and then said, "These are Siddha mantras. These are Siddha mantras, mantras for attaining illumination." He taught her 8 mantras and then said, "These are Siddha mantras, mantras for attaining illumination." You know, there are mantras for accomplishing ritual worship, there are spells, so to speak, for accomplishing things in the world, in the physical and in the psychic realm. He gave her 8 mantras for attaining illumination. Please teach. I'm sorry. Please, I went backwards. Please teach these mantras to those who come to you for initiation. Those who receive one of these mantras will have the vision of their chosen deities during their lifetime, or at least at the time of death. Later, many people will come to them. So this is the apostolic succession that has been passed on to us. These mantras are still what is being given to us as we take Diksha initiation. A few days before the master, wait a minute. Those who receive it will have the chosen deities during their lifetime, or at least at the time of death. Later, many people will come to you for initiation. Initiate them with these mantras. Latu recalled, that's Swami Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj. Latu recalled, "I have never seen such an intelligent woman as the mother." And he saw many, he was, he'd grown up in Kolkata. And because he was a servant, he'd encountered many, many women during his lifetime. "I have never seen such an intelligent woman as the mother. While serving the master, if any of us were depressed or disappointed, she understood. She would send some encouraging words through Yogin to that disciple." Yogin is the one who became Swami Yogananda later. She would send encouraging words through Yogin to that disciple. "Ask him not to be depressed. The master's health is better today, and the opening of the wound seems outwardly dry." In other words, this wound in the master's throat was often hemorrhaging and was a real problem. And of course, the disciples, particularly the close ones, they were inconsolable, really. So she was doing her best to console them. This is how the mother inspired us. And again, this is Latu Maharaj speaking. This is how the mother inspired us. A day before the master's passing away, there was a terrible thunderstorm at noon. The mother and Lakshmi heard a loud crack of thunder and rushed to the master's room upstairs. Lakshmi was very frightened. Seeing her fearful face, the master said, "You see, I don't like to see a gloomy, grouchy face." Hearing these words, Lakshmi smiled. So, do we hear an instruction from the master? Of course we do. I don't like to see a gloomy, grouchy face. So how do we get from gloomy and grouchy when we're there, when we're in that place between tamas and rajas, where we're feeling out of sorts? And well, for one thing, we can chant our mantra. For another, we can try and just replace those lower thoughts with higher thoughts. And this is one of the reasons to have access to these books, so that we can grab them quickly, just open them to any page and read what's there. And we'll find it unusually applicable to our situation. So this is an instruction. One day toward the end, the master asked Shashi to call Holy Mother. Shashi became Swami Ramakrishnananda. He asked Shashi to call Holy Mother. When she arrived, the master said, "You see, I do not know why my mind nowadays remains absorbed in Brahman." She understood what the master meant. He was planning to merge into Brahman. So Sri Ramakrishna asked Shashi to call Holy Mother. When she arrived, the master said, "You see, I do not know why my mind nowadays remains absorbed in Brahman." She understood what the master meant. He was planning to merge into Brahman. She saw her husband's emaciated body and shed a few silent tears. The master's passing. On 15 August 1886, Holy Mother saw some bad omens. She recalled, "On that day, everything was topsy-turvy beginning in the morning. I was cooking khichdi, rice and lentils together, for the master's disciples, and it burnt at the bottom. I served the top portion to them, and we ate the bottom portion." This was the mother's way. She ate the bottom part, the burnt part. "After my bath, I hung my red-bordered sari out to dry in the sun, and someone stole it. I tried to lift the earthen water jar, and it slipped from my hand and broke into pieces." These are the things that Mother is identifying as bad omens, things, a dark shadow over everything. At the end of that day, the master was seated on his bed, reclining on a bolster. He was completely silent. The disciples and devotees were seated around him, and their hearts were heavy with sorrow. They thought that the master had lost his voice and would not speak anymore. Holy Mother and Lakshmi rushed upstairs. As soon as they arrived, the master said in a feeble voice, "I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you are here. I feel as if I'm going to a faraway country across water, very far away." Holy Mother burst into tears. The master consoled her, saying, "Why should you feel troubled? You will live as you are living now. They," referring to Narendra and others, "will do for you what they are doing for me. Look after Lakshmi and keep her with you." These were the master's last words to Holy Mother in his physical body. That evening, the master was hungry. So Holy Mother made farina pudding. He relished it and ate a good quantity without any discomfort. His attendant washed his mouth and carefully laid him on the bed, stretching his legs and supporting them with pillows. Now, if you think back just a few paragraphs, the master's body was terribly emaciated at this point. Of course, the cancer had metastasized and was consuming his entire body. He was just skin and bones, as you see in the picture that was taken of him with the near and dear just after his passing. His attendant washed his mouth and carefully laid him on the bed, stretching his legs and supporting him with pillows. 2 attendants fanned him. Suddenly the master went into samadhi. It was 1:02 a.m., 16 August, 1886. Suddenly a thrill passed through the master's body, making his hair stand on end. His eyes became fixed on the tip of his nose. His face was lit up with a smile. In a clear voice, the master repeated the name of Kali, his beloved deity, 3 times, and then entered into Mahasamadhi. When Holy Mother heard the crying upstairs, she rushed up the steps and cried out, "Oh, Mother Kali, what have I done that you have departed, leaving me alone in the world?" This is how she saw Sri Ramakrishna, as Kali, and he pointed that out to Narendra at one point. Pointing to his body, he said, "There are 2 here," he said, "the mother," meaning Kali, and her worshipper, meaning Vishnu. Rushing up the steps, the mother cried out, "Oh, Mother Kali, what have I done that you have departed, leaving me alone in this world?" Seeing her weeping, Baburam and Jogan went to her, and Golap Ma took her to her room. Afterwards, she remained silent. The only detailed description well, I shouldn't say the only one I know well. The only detailed description of the master's passing is in what is translated by Chetanananda as Sri Ramakrishna, his divine play, and otherwise translated in an earlier translation as the Great Master. So if you want to know more of the details of the master's passing, that's at least one place that you can find them in loving and complete detail. Subhead, Holy Mother leaves Kashipur. The next day, Ramakrishna's body was cremated at the Kashipur cremation ground, and his ashes were brought to the garden house in a copper urn. The disciples put the urn on the master's bed and began to consider what to do next. The disciples put the urn on the master's bed and began to consider what to do next. In the evening, Holy Mother began to discard her jewelry, following the custom of Hindu widows. As she was about to take off her bangles, Ramakrishna appeared before her, looking as he did before he was stricken with cancer. In other words, in his 40s. He died when he was 50. Well, Ramakrishna appeared before her, looking as he did before he was stricken with cancer. He took her hand and said, "Am I dead, that you are acting like a widow and removing your bangles? I have just moved from one room to another." Holy Mother wore the bangles as long as she lived. Balaram brought Holy Mother a white bordered Balaram brought Holy Mother a white borderless sari that is worn by Orthodox widows. When he gave the cloth to Golap Ma to hand over to Holy Mother, Golap Ma shuddered at the very sight of it and said, "Good God, who can give her this white cloth?" Golap Ma, but I said that way because she was quite explosive, quite expressive. When Golap Ma went to Holy Mother, she saw that she had torn off the major part of the wide red border of her sari. From that day, she always wore a sari with a narrow red border. She never wore that borderless, for the same reason that the master told her to keep her jewelry. She wasn't a widow. He wasn't dead. He isn't dead. The following day, Golap Ma told the disciples that the master had appeared to Holy Mother and had forbidden her to remove her bracelets. The news of what he had said, to her reassured them, gave them new strength, and consoled their sorrowful hearts. They cast away their doubts and resolved that they would continue serving the master as before. And this was, by and large, that small group of young men that became the Ramakrishna order. There were others, Ram and Girish and others that were part of that group. Of course, Mahendranath Gupta, M, the one who wrote the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. On 18 August 1886, Holy Mother, accompanied by Golap Ma, Lakshmi, and Latu, paid a visit to Dakshineshwar. They returned to Kashipur the same evening. As a matter of fact, they were not made welcome at Dakshineshwar. It's a sad story. They were not made welcome at Dakshineshwar. They returned to Kashipur the same evening. Difficulties soon arose. How would the Kashipur garden house be maintained? What should be done with the master's ashes? Narendra and the other young disciples wanted to keep the house, but Ram Datta and some other household disciples who were bearing the expenses disagreed. They decided that Holy Mother should move elsewhere. The young disciples should return to their respective homes, and the masters should be installed at Ram Datta's Kankurgachi garden house. I'd forgotten how to pronounce that. And the master's ashes should be installed at Ram Datta's Kankurgachi garden house. The young disciples were helpless. Narendra tried to keep Holy Mother at Kashipur for a few days longer so that she could recover somewhat from her grief, but he was unable to do so. As some of the monastic disciples did not want to give all of the master's relics to Ram Datta, they put a large portion of them into another urn so that they could worship the master on their own. Now, this word that you're about to hear is used very advisedly. As this squabble was going on between the young disciples and the householders, and some of the householders were quite dismissive of these young men. They called them urchins. As this squabble was going on between the young disciples and the householders, Holy Mother said to Golap Ma with a long sigh, "Such a golden person has left us, and now Golap, they're quarreling over his ashes." The young disciples had no money to buy or rent a house for Holy Mother so that she could live near the devotees of the master. But Balaram's home was always open to Holy Mother and the disciples of Ramakrishna. He was truly a blessed soul, and all the members of his family were great devotees of the master. If you go to Kolkata, you can still go to Balaram's house. And if you do, I cannot urge you strongly enough to go and visit that place. The master, of course, was many times in that house. There's a little, whether there was anyway, I suspect it's still there. There was a little cart that was used for the chariot festival, and it was pulled around the veranda. So you could in any way in the past actually touch that cart. In any event, the place is just filled with presence. Also, Raja Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda, passed away in that house. His Mahasamadhi was in that house. On Saturday, 21 August 1886, Balaram invited Holy Mother to stay in his Calcutta home. Holy Mother must have gone upstairs for one last time and bowed down to the master's relics that were kept on his bed before she took her bundle of clothes and climbed into the carriage that Balaram had sent for her that evening. As the carriage neared the garden gate, however, the gatekeeper stopped the driver and demanded the unpaid rent. Narendra was terribly embarrassed and somehow had her released. The world and its terrible aspects goes on even in these kinds of times. Holy Mother later described her mental condition at this time. The master's passing away was unbearable for me. I constantly asked myself, such a golden man has left. Why then should I stay in this world? Life became tasteless and meaningless for me, and I had no desire to talk to anyone. The master then appeared to me and said, no, you shouldn't leave the world. Please stay. You have many things to do. Balaram decided to send Holy Mother on a pilgrimage to give her some peace. And this, as we'll hear, this is such a sweet, sweet episode of Mother's life. This is where Jogin, as he was called in those days, where Yogananda was able to give her such service, and her women attendants gathered around her, and so this is sweet what we're about to hear. Oh, this is a footnote. I don't want to read that. Pilgrimage. Any of you who want to read that, there's a footnote. You can read it in the book. Pilgrimage, August 1886 to August 1887. This was a very sweet episode in the mother's life, going to the place where she and Krishna, she as Radha and Krishna, had sported in the so-called Rasa Leela of Krishna, when she was Radha and Sri Ramakrishna was Krishna, or Vishnu was Krishna. So there's a Sanskrit salutation. I'll read the English. O Lord, in my meditation, I've attributed form to you, who are formless. O teacher of the world, by chanting hymns, I have contradicted your indescribable nature. In other words, describing the indescribable in hymns. I have contradicted your indescribable nature. O Lord, by going on pilgrimage, I have denied your omnipresence. O Lord of the universe, pray forgive me for these threefold faults. So making form out of the formless, describing the indescribable and denying the omnipresence by going some special place. It is said that pilgrims make a place holy. Through their devotion and worship, japa and meditation, prayers and tears, fasting and austerity, vigils and longing, pilgrims sanctify the holy places of the world. The birthplaces of the divine incarnation, Ramachandra's Ayodhya, Krishna's Mathura, Buddha's, I'm sorry, I'd have to put on my glasses to see that. Buddha's birthplace, Christ's Bethlehem, Muhammad's Mecca, Chaitanya's Navadvip, and Ramakrishna's Kamarpukur have all been sanctified, as have been the places associated with their lives. Moreover, the places where saints and monks lived and practiced austerities have become holy. That is why Varanasi and Vrindavan, Hardwar and Rishikesh, Puri and Dwaraka, Madurai and Rameshwaram, and other holy places of India have attracted pilgrims throughout the ages. Visiting holy places for even a short time cuts one's attachment to home and family and enhances one's longing for God. You will experience this if you go on pilgrimage. Visiting holy places for even a short time cuts one's attachment to home and family and enhances one's longing for God. A pilgrim's experience of the divine bliss depends upon forgetfulness of the world. Holy Mother wanted to forget her raw grief and the pain of separation from Ramakrishna. Toward this end of her life, toward the end of his life, the Master had said to Holy Mother, "You should visit all those places that it was not possible for this," meaning himself, to visit. And there were a number of places he couldn't visit because he said, if I went there, I wouldn't be able to hold myself in the body. I would leave. Vrindavan was not one of them. He had an interesting incident there. So he almost stayed and didn't go back to Dakshineshwar. It was only because of his mother that he went back to Dakshineshwar. There's a picture of Sri Sarada Devi here, beautiful picture of her. And it says Sarada Devi at Sister Nivedita's house in Calcutta in 1905. Now that's a whole other chapter that we'll get to of the mother's life. Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, brought back from the West this incredible woman, Margaret Noble, who he named Sister Nivedita. And she accomplished a great deal and left the body relatively early also. 2 weeks after the Master's death, on 30 August 1886, Holy Mother left for pilgrimage, accompanied by Golapma, Lakshmi, can somebody else pronounce that, please? I can't, I have to put on my glasses to see it. I can read the other type, but these names I can't sort out.
Nikunja Devi.
Nikunya Devi. Thank you, Balakrishna. Nikunya Devi, Im's wife, Jogin, Latu, and Kali. Kali later became Swami Abhedananda. So Golapma, Lakshmi, Nikunya Devi, Im's wife, Jogin, Latu, and Kali. Excuse me while I... I didn't bring my phone in here to keep time, so I have to check. The party traveled by train, first stopping at Vaidanath Vaidyanath Dham, and Deogar Jharkhand. In Vaidyanath Dham resides one of the 12 Jyotirlingams of Shiva. In 1868, Ramakrishna visited this holy place. On her pilgrimage in August 1886, Holy Mother also worshipped the deity there, and then the next day, the party left for Varanasi. They spent nearly 10 days in Varanasi, where they visited the temples to Vaishwanath Shiva, Mother Annapurna, and other important deities. Again, any of you who go to India, if you can manage it, don't miss going to Varanasi. It is a really remarkable experience. Holy Mother and her companions also climbed the high tower of whatever that word is, to look upon the golden city of Varanasi. One evening, Holy Mother attended the Vesper service of Lord Vishwanath and went into ecstasy inside the temple. I'll repeat that. One evening, Holy Mother attended the Vesper service, the evening service of Lord Vishwanath, and went into ecstasy inside the temple. She was hardly conscious of the world and had difficulty returning home. Later, she said, it was the master who brought me home, holding me by the hand. Latu recalled the incident. One evening, we attended the Vesper service at the Vishwanath temple. On the way back to our residence, Mother was with a heavy step, yet walking rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that it was difficult to keep up with her. So this is with a heavy step. In other words, she was not in a light mood. She was in a heavy mood. Mother with a heavy step, yet walking rapidly, so rapidly, in fact, that it was difficult to keep up with her. As soon as we reached the house, she lay down on her cot and did not speak. Apparently, she got up at midnight and sat to meditate. In the morning, Golap Ma called her again, and it called her again and again, yet she could not be roused from meditation. So what was happening, of course, is the mother was transforming herself into the person who would become this great serviceful being that was. And like the master, she did it in meditation. Another day, Holy Mother and others went to pay their respects to Swami Bhaskarananda, a well-known holy man who remained completely naked as part of his spiritual practices. When he met them, the Swami said, "Don't feel nervous, mothers. You are all manifestations of the Divine Mother of the universe. Why should you be embarrassed? Is it because of my genital organ? Why, it is like one of my fingers." So in other words, there was no lust anywhere in his body. So that's what he meant. Holy Mother said later, "What a calm, great soul. He always remains naked in winter and summer alike." And the winters in Varanasi can get quite cold. When Holy Mother was in Varanasi, a nun from Nepal would sometimes visit her. The nun knew various rituals and spiritual practices. She recognized Holy Mother's mental condition and suggested that she practice pachatapa to relieve her anguish. This nun, Panchatapa is five practices. spiritual practices, 5 spiritual practices to relieve her anguish. This nun also prayed to Holy Mother to send one of her disciples to her during her last moments. Holy Mother never saw the nun again, but that prayer was answered years later. See chapter 33. I don't remember the incident just now, so when we get there, we'll read it. After visiting Varanasi, some of Holy Mother's companions suggested the party go to Prayag and bathe in the confluence of the Ganges and the Jamuna. Holy Mother wanted to visit Ayodhya next, so instead they all took the train to the birthplace of Ramachandra. They stayed there for one day and visited the important temples and Saraju River. After bathing in the Saraju River, the mother cooked food and fed her companions. Jogan commented, "What great fortune! Today Mother Sita has fed us in this holy place of Ayodhya." The next day, the party left for Vrindavan. Now, there was an incident there where it isn't mentioned, but there was an incident where Holy Mother said, "Oh, this is just as I remember it." So this was, it was in one of the temples. She said, "Oh, this is just as I remember it." Speaking as Sita, of course. I'm going to check the time because I want to leave a little time for conversation at the end. Yeah, it's 9 minutes to 9. I'll just read this next part and then this part about what happened as they got to Vrindavan. The next day, the party left for Vrindavan. In the train on the way, Holy Mother had a vision of Sri Ramakrishna. She was then wearing the Master's gold amulet on one of her arms. In the train, she lay down with her arm on the windowsill, leaving the amulet visible. The Master suddenly appeared and said to her through the window, "Hello, what are you wearing? Why are you wearing that amulet that way?" So here you can see how the Master was constantly present with the mother and looking after her. The Master suddenly appeared and said to her through the window, "Hello, why are you wearing the amulet that way? A thief could easily snatch it." Immediately she got up, removed the amulet from her arm and put it in a small tin trunk where she kept the Master's photo. She realized that the Master was always with her, protecting her. She never wore that amulet again. Instead, she worshipped it every day, and later she gave it to Bellarmine for the Master's shrine. So we've had a lot of information this evening about the Master's passing, the mother's grief, her being given responsibility by Sri Ramakrishna, beginning to prepare herself for that responsibility. Balaram Bose and his family being so good to her to arrange for this quite costly pilgrimage. I mean, there was a number of people that they were listed, about half a dozen people going on pilgrimage by train and staying at various places. And it was all being paid for by Balaram Bose's family. So any comments or questions? Anything that any of you would like to offer?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Haima.
how long Mother lived after passing of Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna Swami?
She lived until 1920.
Wow.
So from It was 1886 to 1920. 14, so 36 years, 34 years.
34 years.
34 years afterwards. And all of those years, she assumed more and more responsibility. She assumed responsibility for the Ramakrishna order. She assumed responsibility for the activities in Jairambati. She organized the family there and looked after her mother and her brothers. And of course, Lakshmi and her crazy niece. And she took many, many, many disciples. It's never been completely ascertained, but the figure that's bandied about is something in the order of 2,000 disciples.
Yes. Did he continue to appear to her throughout her life?
In various times, in various ways, yes.
Okay.
There's a wonderful incident which we'll come to
Okay.
one time when she's in Jairambati, and the master, this was after Narendra's passing, the master and Narendra and others appeared to her like the Ganges flowing, like they were riding on the wave of the Ganges. Beautiful, beautiful incidents. Many times he appeared to her.
Thank you.
What, you bet. Thank you for asking. Anyone else?
Oh, comment and question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. All right. I was muted, talking while I was muted before. Yeah, visiting holy places does cut your ties to friends and family. They're still there and you still love them, but after visiting the Vivekananda House in South Pasadena and then the Ridgely Retreat in New York, your attachment, it seems to be more to just wanting more of God. And now I want to go to Mount Ramakrishna Math in India. It's just inflamed that desire.
Elder Mott, yes, of course.
Elder Mott.
Yes, and when you're there, be sure that you, when you prepare to go, be sure and give plenty of notice to the Ramakrishna order through Swami Sarada Devi, so that they can make arrangements for you to go to Dakshineshwar and other places if you wish, Jairambati and Kamarpur, as well as Bellarmont.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. And question: you'd said early in tonight's lecture something to the effect of, "Those who stick with it, I will come for you at death." Do you remember that?
Oh yes, I remember that.
What did you say?
Stick on. Those who stick on. Those are Swami Prabhavananda's very words. Those of you who stick on, if you do not achieve realization during your lifetime, then the Masters will give you his grace at death. And then you notice this was mentioned in this evening's reading. So this is the promise. This is the promise. And there are many, many people that this has been evidently the case at their passing.
And to stick on means to continue your spiritual practices, and that's just
stick on means don't stray to some other path. Don't there's never any dogma associated with the Ramakrishna activities, but there is the quiet insistence that you keep up your spiritual practices. If you don't, what will happen? Well, when Swami Swahananda was given his brahmacharya initiation, he was initiated with another young man, And they were with Vijnanananda that evening. And the young man that was initiated with him asked, well, you've given us some instructions, Maharaj. He didn't call him Maharaj, only Swami Brahmananda was called Maharaj. You've given us some instructions, Swami. What happens if I don't follow the instructions? And Vijnanananda wasn't upset in any way at the impertinence of the question. He didn't see it as impertinent. He simply thought a few moments and said, well, what would have happened will not happen. So it's up to us to follow the instructions given to us by our teacher as best we can and persist. Swami Prabhavananda's 4 instructions for meditation were something that's just good to have in our hearts. His first word was the chosen ideal, that is to say, that being that is at the heart of your practice, at the heart of your mantra. The chosen ideal is you yourself, no different. Learn to feel that living presence. And you feel it in your heart. You feel it as you persist with your practice. You do feel that living presence. So, so that was his first instruction for meditation. The chosen ideal is you yourself, no different. Learn to feel that living presence. The second was patience. Patience with the practice, patience with yourself, patience with other people who won't understand why you're doing what you're doing, patience in all of its ramifications. Patience. The third, perseverance. Don't let up. Keep at it as best you can. If you fall away, all right, you fall away. As Vivekananda said, we fall 1,000 times, we rise 1,001 times. But go back to it. You know, as they say to horse riders, if you fall off, don't hesitate, get back on the horse. So get back on the horse, persevere. The fourth is a surprising one to people. Expectation. Expect that your practice will yield fruit, and it could yield the full fruit at any moment. It is not known to us just how close we are. We don't know just, just over the next hill is the golden city. So this instruction about feel the living presence, patience, perseverance, and expectation. Live in expectation that it will happen for you. And we can hold in our hearts this promise that if we do persevere and we do stick on, that even if we don't achieve this by the time we pass from this body, that the Master will be waiting for us and give us his grace at the time we do pass from the body.
And by give us his grace, you mean allow us into the Ramakrishna Loka? Or what?
That's if you still have some work to do.
Okay.
It's not up to us to know what exactly it means. It means that the Master will give you what you need at that point. And you don't need to negotiate. You don't need to think about what that would be. You just need to do your practices and stay faithful and as cheerful as you can, and live in that expectation that the Master is there. just as he was for Holy Mother. After all, the word omnipresence is not just a turn of phrase. Omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence, these are the descriptions of the divine presence. And if you think about those words, they're very reassuring. Anyone else? Thank you.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Swayam, hello.
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 Hi, Brother Shankar.
Either in the Gospel or in Sri Ramakrishna's Divine Play, I recall reading that there were some devotees or disciples that Sri Ramakrishna would lose patience with, and he would send them to Holy Mother, and she would initiate them. Do you recall anything like that?
I don't think during his lifetime. Not when he was alive. She didn't initiate anyone during his lifetime. Not that I remember. But there were instances like Yogin, Swami Yogananda. Swami Yogananda was definitely the master's disciple and became one of the brothers of the Ramakrishna order. But he had not been initiated by the master, and he told Mother to initiate him. This happened when they were in Vrindavan. We'll probably read about that in a page or two. But yes, the master would give Mother specific instructions from time to time after his passing away, and give her specific instructions about certain disciples. But not during his lifetime. He would sometimes send people to her for instruction, but not initiation. During his lifetime, he would do that.
Thank you.
Particularly women, because sometimes women, they wouldn't listen to him. Like those women, those Shiva worshippers who came to him, and they were like Shiva worshippers were apparently given to doing. They were given to fasting, a lot of fasting, austerities. And the master said, don't do that, don't do that. It makes me unhappy to see you suffer that way. And he said, I don't like to see women fast. And he included Mother in that conversation. I'm not the four of them together, but I think he sent them to her afterwards, saying, you tell them what to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anybody else?
I have one last question about the expectation. You said the fourth one.
Yes.
You said expectation that the practice will yield fruit. But the Karma Yoga says leave the result to Almighty. So
this is the differentiation. Spiritual practice and worldly activities are 180 degrees opposite.
Okay.
The rules that apply to worldly practice do not apply to spiritual practice. We are to live in expectation of the fruits of our practice. And that aspiration, all of our holy aspirations, do not fit within the rules.
Okay.
They are above that.
Do you mean that he will take care of us? That is what the fruit is. That's what you're saying. The practice will yield fruit means what if we do the choose ideal and then the patience, perseverance, this will all yield. That
yes.
Ramakrishna will take care of us. Our Holy Mother.
Once you are Sri Ramakrishna's own, once you have pledged your troth, made your heart
surrender to
the abode of Sri Ramakrishna, then yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I just read something of Hafiz this morning.
Mhm.
He said, God said, and that means God said to him, Hafiz, God said, each soul completes me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haima. Anyone else? Anything else? This is precious. Thank you very much for being willing to come forward.
Raji, what is exactly the meaning of, each soul completes me?
What did Hafiz mean by each soul completes me?
Yes.
How many beings are there in the universe, Balakrishna?
One.
All right. How many do there appear to be? Innumerable. Innumerable.
Yes.
All right. Each of those is inseparable from the one. It only appears to us by the divine will, by our, we are the divine, we are willing this minniness. We are producing this minniness. But it is an illusion. The truth is, we are one with the divine, and each of us, this is the meaning of that Purna chant. There is fullness, only fullness. And though you seem to take away fullness from fullness, there's still only fullness, completeness. So there's no way for you to be separate from the divine. You can turn your attention away from the divine. You can be asleep. You can be, as Jesus said, you can be drunk on the wine of the world, of worldliness. But you cannot be apart from the divine. Jesus said two things that apply to this. I and my Father are one. That's unity at the first level. And then he said, I am the vine, ye are the branches. That's unity at this next level. In other words, you are the branches of the divine being itself. And the vine cannot be complete without the branches. Though if we get too obstreperous at any given lifetime, we can suffer the fate of the fig tree. when the divine asks of us and we are too stubborn, in that lifetime we will be burnt to ash. Hello, Aaron.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. Namaste.
I actually wanted to ask you a question about, so when Swami Prabhavananda speaks of the grace we will receive from Ramakrishna if we stick to it, does he mean the blessing or like salvation from?
The Christian word would be salvation, yes. We have to be careful about trying to cross boundaries here. What does salvation mean to a Christian is not the same thing that salvation means to us. And we have to pledge our troth. We have to make ourselves one with Ramakrishna for us for it to happen for us in this lifetime. Now, it can also happen with Jesus. It can also happen with Krishna. It can also, but Prabhavananda was speaking specifically about Sri Ramakrishna. So leave it to the teachers from those other lineages to make their own promises about what happens. I know the promise that Prabhupada made, and I was sitting there as he made it. Those of you who stick on, if you don't achieve realization, if you don't achieve what you just called salvation in this lifetime, the Master will be there for you. And we just heard that in the reading again this evening.
I suppose what I meant by salvation was like freedom from samsara, or
Yeah, that's salvation, all right. But when we say those words, we have to really let our hearts rest on what does freedom mean? What does samsara mean? And we have to ask ourselves, do I really want to be free from samsara? Or am I behaving in such a way that I don't show the evidence that I really want to be free from samsara? Thanks, Aaron. Those are good questions. Anyone else? Okay. Well, we'll wind it up. So we'll start next week. We just heard about Mother and the amulet. She gave it to Bellarmine for the Master's Shrine, and it's still, it may have been stolen ultimately. I wonder. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it was stolen.
It was stolen.
It's not in the Belur Mutt anymore.
Malchance. That's what I had a vague memory of that. Anyway, we'll now next week we'll start with Mathura. The pilgrims went to Mathura. If there's nothing else, then we'll close it this way. O Mother, hold us in your thoughts. O Mother, hold us in your grace. O Mother, take us on your lap. O Mother, grant us your motherhood. Let it be real for us. Let it be real for us. Let it be real for us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. Good night, Sham.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Good night, Shash. Good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Tomorrow.
Yeah, stay away from the virus.
Yeah, stay away from the virus and come and see us tomorrow evening.
We will be here.
All right. Oh, I got your message, Naveen. Got your.
Right.
All right.
Thank you. Good night, Brother Shankara.
Thank you. Bye.
I'm going to hit the end meeting button. Good night, everyone.
Bye.